better part of a decade. We're going to explore some of them. But as you mentioned, just to stress that this particular ruling dealing with the personal costs after President Jacob Zuma challenged the state capture report and tried to take that up on review. There have been plenty of twists and turns over the last few years, Vuyo, but we're really just going to highlight three other major cases in which he's been involved. Remember the spy tapes case that, of course, centered around the arms deal and Zuma's involvement in that, whether or not he benefited from a corrupt relationship with Schabir Shaik. Then, of course, the Nkandla report, Public Protector Thuli Madonsela releasing that report saying that President Zuma should pay back the money. Of course, he fought that finding tooth and nail for quite a while before eventually agreeing to pay back the money. Then, of course, last year there was the furore around the NPA and, of course, the appointment of Shaun Abrahams as the head of the National Prosecuting Authority. That battle also went on for several months during the course of 2017, the court ruling that the appointment of Shaun Abrahams was, in fact, invalid. So how much has all of these cases cost the state? Well, the EFF put an estimate on it in court earlier this week. They've suggested that it may have cost as much as 32 million rand. Of course, that cost being spread over the course of several years. It is a massive amount of money. We might get a clearer idea of the actual cost in December. That's when the High Court is set to rule on another case which focuses on the state's responsibility when it comes to Zuma's fees. Does the state have to pay? The court will decide that probably in around 4 or 5 weeks. But all of this leading to another important question, Vuyo. Much emphasis on the cost of Zuma's legal fees. His critics would suggest that it's his decisions which have cost the country much, much more. Of course, reports emerging this week that Jacob Zuma's decision to appoint Des van Rooyen as finance minister may have cost the country as much as 500 billion rand. You'll remember the massive, massive outcry in the markets when he made that decision in December 2015. So ultimately, when the country counts the cost of Jacob Zuma's presidency, it may be much, much higher than a few court battles which have played out over the last few years.
In fact, one would imagine that when Pravin Gordhan appears before the State Capture Commission next week, that figure of 500 billion we're going to hear a lot about and how he has, of course, arrived at that. And you're saying 500 billion and counting.
Indeed.
Michael Marilia, thanks very much for that. Well.